Just kidding. I am alive today on time, and I forgot to do my shining powder. So we're gonna shine ourselves right now. Hi everybody. Just so you guys know, look at how amazing that is. No one really cares, but I need to do this or else I look really sweaty in the lights. I hope you all are having a great Friday. I am rushing to get on air as always. I have so much to do today because I'm going to the Benson Boone concert at Madison Square Garden tonight with my family, so I'm very excited about that. And I know it's during a football game, so I didn't plan that well, but here we are. There's going to be a whole season ahead. And last night, craziness. So I'm happy for anybody. Ow, something just went in my eye. I'm really happy for anyone that took the points with the Dallas Cowboys. I'm also very, that is not true, Sean. That is not true. I'm ready. I'm ready to go. I just had to put a little bit of the powder on my face so that I didn't look sweaty. That is all. Congratulations to anybody that decided to tail me last night. Winner, winner. We swept the board. Jake Ferguson ends up going under 40.5. I think he had 23 receiving yards yesterday. Let me just go to the box score real quick. Of course, you guys know the Eagles won 24-20. Dallas covered an 8.5-point and 7.5-point spread. When it came to props, we had Jake Ferguson with 5 catches for 23 yards. Jahan Dotson ends up leading the Eagles. You were so close, Mark. You were so close. I'm actually glad that you didn't bet that because I would have felt terrible if Mark actually went through with the 60 plus on Jahan Dotson. That would have been such a bad beat. Would you say you got that payout for 6-1? Forget what you said it was. But Jahan Dotson ends up going over 7.5 receiving yards. He had 59 on 3 catches, including a 51-yard catch. I was sitting, where was I yesterday? I went to Fort Charles yesterday. Fort Charles Prime, which is in the city. It's one of the hardest places to get in for a freaking hamburger. But it was very good, and I'm watching the game on my phone. So as soon as I turn my phone on for the national anthem, and then I see players spitting on each other and getting tossed before the game even really starts. But then I see Jahan Dotson go deep, and I remember being I was sitting at the table, and my friends, they don't really bet. They looked at me and they were like, what's your draw drop for? I'm like, I just hit my Jahan Dotson bet on 1 catch. It was fantastic. We also saw Jalen Hurts end up going over 39.5 rushing yards. He was also the rushing leader with 62 on 14 carries and 2 touchdowns. Did you guys see that there was a payout for Javonte Williams 2 touchdowns and Jalen Hurts 2 touchdowns? It was a crazy payout. I think it was, hold on. I think I liked it. Did I like it? I'm logged into Prop Queen. Oopsies. We're almost at 2,000 followers for Prop Queen on X. That's cool. Did I like it? Likes. Yeah. 60-1. Oh my gosh. I'm going to put this in the video. 60-1 yesterday for this parlay. Jalen Hurts 2 touchdowns. Javonte Williams 2 touchdowns. 60-1. 60-1. Can you imagine? And this loser only put $5 on it. At least put 10, 50. Could have been rich, dude. I can't believe that this person was even dumb enough to say Javonte Williams 2 touchdowns. Everyone was fading Javonte. Everyone should have been fading Saquon Barkley, the most bet on prop, according to BetMGM and FanDuel yesterday. Everyone was on the Saquon over, and Saquon ends up with 60 rushing yards. Stop betting the public side, people. Saquon also, I think, went over his receiving yards prop. I think that was 14.5, something like that. He went over that with 24. $5, guys. $5. Mark, that would have been you if you bet 6-1 yesterday on 60 plus, or 3-1 yesterday on 60 plus for Jahan Dotson. Would have also been a loser, but it would have been a great call. If Mark did that yesterday, and he put it up here, I think he said, 30-1. 30-1 if Mark put that down on Jahan Dotson's 60 or more receiving yards. And he didn't do it. Thank goodness. But we could have all had a funeral for Mark and his bet this morning if Mark actually bet that. Like, I would have felt bad. I would have given him how much money? Mark, how much money would you have put on that? How much money would you have put on the 30-1, Mark? Who are my prop bets for tonight? You know that you have to wait till the end of the show for that, Craig. Craig, you're always watching the show. You got to wait until the prop queen edges of the day. We've got Joe Pisapia coming on the show. He's going to talk NFL props for this weekend as well. He's going to talk some sides and totals. Then we've got Mid-Major Matt coming on to talk Major League Baseball, NFL, college football. Got a lot of college football with Mid-Major Matt coming up. Matt sent out a newsletter today on thepropqueen.com. Again, $5. You could subscribe and get all the info from Matt on a ton of college football games. And he discussed tomorrow's games in today's newsletter that went out around 3 o'clock. So if you subscribe for $5, you could read all of Matt's stuff on thepropqueen.com. Where are you? Mark, you were going to put 10 on it. All right, that would have been cool. I would have paid you $60. I would have given you 60 if that lost. I wasn't going to add a 0, but I'll give you 60 for that L. But you didn't bet it. We talked about Will Dissly yesterday. Yeah, I mean, if you watched the show yesterday, you would already know that yesterday I liked Will Dissly tonight over receiving yards 15.5. Craig, always impatient. It's okay. But that's why we have guests that come on the show, because it gives you more than just my perspective. And all these guests that come on aren't like influencers, even though Joe, like if he wants to be one, he can try to be an influencer. I know that that's like something in his next life I think he wants to come back as, but like, no, it's like not an influencer show. This show is legit smart people that come on the show and give you good info. I never bring anyone on who gives you bad info yet. Busy weekend, college, NFL, US Open finals. Oh, that's what I meant to do. Okay, when Joe's on, I'm going to pop myself out so I could turn my TV on, because I got to turn on Djokovic and Alcaraz. That was a great match so far. Djokovic was up in the second set. Alcaraz won the first set, so I'm very pumped about that. Yankees going to sweep Mark's team. Oh, crap, Mark, I forgot, Mark. It's our weekend, dude. We're going to go head-to-head. Going head-to-head this weekend. And the Yankees are taking things seriously this weekend because what did I see yesterday? Oh, they flew Cam Schlittler and Luis Heel on a private jet yesterday so that they wouldn't be late and that they would have all the rest that they needed going into Toronto. So we have our angry eyes ready for this weekend, except I'm not going to watch it on Sunday because I'm going to watch football and get pissed off about the Ravens instead. Joining the show, he is a great friend of mine. He comes over from my days at Sports Grid. We got to meet. So we've known each other now like 5-6 years. Joe Pisapia joining the show. Hi, Joe.
Hello, Ariel. So I'm just here so you could turn on the U.S. Open. Is that what it is? That's
absolutely. You're just like my buffer, and you're gonna just kill time.
All right.
Time killer. You're freezing a little bit, though. You're freezing a little bit.
Oh no. Okay.
I think you're back. Nope.
You know
you're
what?
Still freezing.
Let me dip out of here and let me go on another.
Defeating the purpose of your segment.
There we go. That's all right. I'll be right back in 2 seconds.
Kicking Joe out until he figures things out over on his technological. Yes, we call him Joe Pizza. Joe Pizza is 100% what we're gonna call Joe. What did you guys say? Oh, taking the Yankees tonight. I don't mind fading Gossman on the road, but if you think I'm gonna bet the Yankees, the answer is no. Am I going to bet the Ravens too? No interest. All right, Joe says he's back. So Joe Pizza from Betting Pros joining the show. Sean Michael wants to call you Joe Pizza.
I love how everybody always thinks they're the first person that ever put that together, as if somehow when I was like 6 years old that Little Caesars wasn't a thing and pizza. I mean, come on, guys. It's
that's kind of like the whole Jeffrey Epstein joke too. Like everyone's like, "Oh, you should create a segment called Epstein's List on your show." And I'm like, "Well, that's so original."
I don't think that's the best look. Just saying.
Someone's like, "Oh, your last name, that must suck." I'm like, "Oh, wow, original." Like, who cares? Oh, okay, Joe. We've got a really, really busy time of year right now because Major League Baseball. I know you love baseball as much as I do. We've also got NFL that started yesterday. Before we get to your card, how on earth are you handicapping tonight's game since it's neutral site altitude?
Ooh, honestly, tonight's a tricky one. And week one is something, and I talk about this on my shows too. Gently, slowly. Like you have to kind of see who teams are, and then week one's kind of an outlier anyway, where you're not really getting necessarily the best of what these teams are. So I'm very hyper specific, and I've learned my lesson over the years. Week one, especially even last year, week one, it was just we're all so excited, right? I always said it. I even said this on the show the other day. I'm like, it's like Chris Farley was like, I'm like JoJo the idiot circus boy, and just running around. I'm really excited for football, right? And you end up looking up at the end of the day, and you go, this is terrible. So you're targeting the things you think you can control. And tonight is not something I think I can control. I think the Chargers, typically Justin Herbert always shows up in these games against Kansas City. It's a neutral site. We don't know what the field is going to be like. Last year, the field was a real problem. So there's a lot of variables. You're taking Rashee Rice out of this game. You're taking so many different issues. And also in the last 25 years, you know, all the Super Bowl losers have kind of had some rough goes the following year, and only one team made it back to the Super Bowl after losing the Super Bowl in the last 25 years. And that team was the New England Patriots, and they won, and it's Tom Brady. So you could throw that up and throw it
Yep.
away because he's the anomaly of all anomalies. So
Correct.
tonight, this is a game, honestly, that I'm just staying away from. I had a lot of focus on last night. We hit our same game parlay last night, which was Jalen Hurts, anytime touchdown score in the first half, the over on Javonte Williams rushing yards, and the under on the passing yards, 212.5 for Jalen Hurts. Nailed that 7-1 out of the gate. So we're feeling pretty good here. And then looking at Sunday night and looking at some of these games too, I think there's a lot more we can control. Whereas tonight, it's one of those four outcome games. I don't like to go into four outcome games, especially in week one.
I noticed that you also have an SGP for the primetime game Sunday night between the Bills and the Ravens. How much is how much are SGP something you like to do more just for these primetime games, or will you throw them into the big Sunday slates?
Typically, I like the little standalone, prime time. Okay, let's get a little action there, and keeping it simple, and usually keeping it to two legs. Now, you can move this one to three if you want, and I'm going to show you how to do it. But the two-leg parlay here, again, the narrative that I'm going with is that these teams have been practicing a while. These first couple drives are going to have set up, so Derrick Henry should be in a really good spot here, as he always is. And I actually went back and I watched the Buffalo Bills Ravens playoff game again. And in that second half especially, they just got manhandled at the line. Now, I know the Bills made some good additions here with some rookies trying to help the run a little bit, because obviously if you're going to win in the AFC, you've got to stop Derrick Henry, right? That's what you got to do. But I'm not sold on anybody being able to do that quite yet. So you got to show me that. So in the meantime, I'm going to take Derrick Henry again, same thing, where the anytime touchdown for him is a minus. Well, I'm going to flip it to a plus just by getting rid of that second half of football. First half plus 165. So you take that, boom, we're in action already. Now, Rashad Bateman, again, 36.5 is the number for him. I think that's a little high for Rashad Bateman historically for receiving yards. So I'm going to take the under on that. And if we are, controlling the narrative here where Derrick Henry gets a touchdown in the first half of this game, Rashad Bateman doesn't light the world on fire necessarily, which is not really his game. I mean, he's kind of fourth in the pecking order anyway on a good day. That's plus 346. Now, if you add in the over for this game at 50.5, it goes to 605. So if you want to get a little bit, crazy here, you can do that. But to me, I think the easy thing to do is, again, when you are looking at, adding in that third variance, it's a lot. But if you want to add in that over on the 50.5, you can do that. Otherwise, this trims down to plus 346, which is also very manageable. 3-1 on your money. I think that's a nice Sunday evening for everyone.
Sean, yes, we know we don't love Derrick Henry season long this year, but him scoring a touchdown is going to happen in the season. So
why are we fading Derrick Henry? Can I just ask that? Why?
We talked about this the whole preseason. So Derrick Henry, his prop is, of course, much lower than what he finished with last year. Like, we're talking like a 600-yard difference.
Last year, it was 950.5, by the way.
No, I'm saying what he finished with. He finished with 1,900.
Yeah, uh-huh.
And now the prop is, what, like 1,300, 1,300 range?
I don't even think it's that high, to be honest with
1,200?
you. I think I got it
It's
low.
very low.
It's still very low for Derrick Henry terms, and I'm
Correct,
still very much
which is very fishy to me. And now that you're splitting the backfield with Keaton Mitchell, Justice Hill, obviously Lamar's very mobile. I think similar to Saquon, Derrick Henry is a complete stay away or fade for me on the season.
Not for me. I'm going right back at it again. I can't get enough of Derrick Henry. I'm over it again. Yeah, look, last year I was over it. I smashed. It was 950.5, and I laughed.
That was
when they
very
put this
low.
bad boy out. It was ridiculous. This number is higher. It's right now it's 13.25 and a half, but I got
Mhm.
it lower. So I got this early in the year, I think when they first came out.
Yeah.
So this is not where it was previously, but again, you don't have to get 1900. Can he get to 15? Yeah, he's going to smash this. I think so. Like 13.25 is still very achievable, but I understand why people don't want to go after this, and that's fair. But the one thing you have to realize, and again, I didn't come on here to talk about the Ravens with you because I'm sure that's a
I know.
loaded
I was gonna
situation,
say, of
right?
course, Joe comes on and he's
I'm
got an
defending the
SGP for the Ravens.
Ravens. Ugh, how did that happen? But anyway, you have to defend the honor of Derrick Henry. He's the king for a reason, and they extended him and gave him more money. This is a team that runs the football better than anybody, wants to run the football more than anybody. Just be careful, though, going for Derrick Henry rushing totals in this first game. Typically, in the first game or two, they were a little patient with
Yeah.
him last year. And you
Well,
can see
that
that
was his
again.
first year.
It is, but it's also something where you're looking ahead to January with him. You're trying to make sure that we contain him just a little bit and make sure that we're not, I know these games are very important and they open up with them and the Buffalo Bills out of the gate, and then they got an in-division game the next week, and then they're going to play the Chiefs, they're going to play the Lions. It's a pretty tough stretch to open up here, but I think they're going to be careful, especially in this first game with Derrick Henry. I'm not saying they're going to put him in bubble wrap, but I wouldn't be looking for the overs. That's why I'm looking for the touchdown props instead.
Okay, so that's the SGP that Joe's got for primetime Sunday Night Football. Other props for this weekend. I love that you're targeting Cam Ward already. You're just ready to go. Everyone else is taking Denver -7.5 or Denver in Survivor. Everyone wants to fade Cam Ward. How
Yeah.
come you chose passing yards?
Well, I'm choosing the passing yards because I think it's a lot to ask Cam Ward to go into Denver in his first start period on the road in Mile High, which is a tough place for any quarterback to go play. And then you're going against that defense that is so good, especially in the secondary. And if you want to go correlate this again to the under on Calvin Ridley, I think that's a good idea too in terms of reception props. I think that's very smart, but I just think this is a lot to ask of a kid. And I like Cam Ward. I don't think Cam Ward gets enough
Same.
respect.
I'm really excited to watch him actually.
I like the player. I just hate the situation out of the gate.
Yeah.
And historically, we learned last year too, Sean Payton likes to put his foot on teams, especially bad teams. You see some of these scores last year, these bad teams where they beat up on them 33-10, 38-7. I mean, he doesn't take the foot off the gas. Let's just say that about Sean Payton. And I think this is going to be a tough one for Cam Ward because they're going to take Calvin Ridley away. That's going to be part of this game. Again, traveling on the road is always hard to open up your NFL career, but to open up against a really good Denver Broncos team that I think can win this division this year, I just think it's too much to ask. And yeah, I am on Denver and the 7-2 because I just think it's a better situation where in survivor pools, yeah, sure, every year some weird stuff happens, but I already got my upset of the week, and I'm already kind of locked into a couple things. I just don't think Denver is going to spit the bit at home against a rookie quarterback. I can't see Sean Payton not being prepared.
Okay. Cam Ward under passing yards is the way that Joe's going to fade the first round pick per usual. We always fade the
And
first
Craig
round.
is right in the
Or the
chat.
first pick in the draft.
New England last year beat up
Yep.
on the Bengals, but if you go back and watch Betting Pros week 1 last year, that was our upset call of the week.
It was mine too. It was my favorite upset call of last season.
Yeah, it was so easy. It was right in your face. And again, it's a liar because the Patriots were terrible last year. But you have to understand there's going to be some weird things in week 1. I just don't think this is the weird. You're asking a rookie to go into Mile High and win on the road in his first ever start. His first ever start? That's just too much.
Yeah, it's a rough one to have to play in that altitude for the first game. And Craig, you are so impatient today, my friend. We're going to get to those in a little bit. We're going to get to his sides and totals. We're going to go through props first. This is the Prop Queen pod. But Craig, I promise you we will get to his upset of the week. Amon-Ra St. Brown, over 66.5 receiving yards. Lions wide receiver. Of course, he's one of the greatest receivers in the league last year. How come and I don't even want to say this is public because 66.5 actually feels kind of low for him.
It is kind of low for him. And I think this is just flat out wrong. And I think some of these better players, and I think that's something you should look at too early on, investing in the great players because other teams are not up to speed and lesser players are not up to speed. And great players can dominate early on in the NFL. Every single year we see it in September. So Amon-Ra St. Brown is going to match up against these corners here in Green Bay that are just frankly not very good. So I am looking at this as a mismatch. I know it's Jared Goff, outside of his comfort zone, but let's be honest here. This is not like a bad weather situation or anything like that. So I'm on Raw at 66.5 receiving yards. I think this is a smash over personally. I think Williams could have a really good day as well, but focusing on Amon-Ra and the amount of volume he gets historically in this offense. Now, look, it is going to be a little bit of different offense, right? We don't have Ben Johnson there anymore,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't think we're going to get too far away from what's made this team successful at the same time. So Amon-Ra still going to get his. Love this matchup here for him against some weak corners for Green Bay.
Give us a quarterback, give us a wide receiver. Now you got us a running back, Bucky Irving, under 70.5 rushing yards. The Bucks facing off with the Falcons. Who would have thought that this was going to be one of the most anticipated week 1 matchups? I thought I was crazy for thinking I was excited for this game. Everyone I speak to said that they're also excited to watch this game. I think we'll see a lot and learn a lot about how legit the Bucks look again or not with Baker, and if the Falcons took any step forward. Bucky Irving, why under 70.5?
Well, in the two matchups against Atlanta last year, he didn't cross 50. So I just think 70.5 is a very big jump. And he had some really good games in between. It was something about the Falcons for some odd reason. I'm not exactly sure what it was. But just historically speaking, it was not great out of the gate there for Bucky Irving against the Atlanta Falcons. And I'm not saying that he can't go over this. Of course, he can. One big run would kind of put a knife in the heart of this. But once again, I want to reiterate, it is week 1. I think all teams want to get everybody up to stamina, and it's not like these guys were playing full games. So you're going to see some of these running backs like Bucky Irving, I think, share a little bit of the workload, share a little bit of the carries early on. Even though they're the true number 1 of the depth chart, it doesn't matter because it's week 1, and these guys are not ready to go full blast quite yet. And I think that's something to keep in mind here. And when you see a high number, right, this is the opposite of Amon-Ra. Amon-Ra's number is too low. This number to me is just a little too high, especially when you consider the track record against
Oh,
Atlanta
you
for
mean
Bucky
like
Irving.
Saquon?
And the Saquon number too. And again, I think, we have to keep coming back to that and driving it home. Week 1 for running backs, you're going to see teams just be a little on the safe side. You're going to see, like in Seattle, you're going to see Charbonnet along with Ken Walker. You're going to just see a little bit more, and it might make people panic in fantasy world a little bit. But in the betting world, it's just something I think week 1, maybe a little bit in week 2, but more week 1 than any other week because these guys just aren't up to game speed quite yet.
Now, Joe also has some sides and totals. Now, your upset of the week, I'm assuming, is the New York Giants.
Oh, no, I think it's Seattle.
Oh,
I think everybody that I know of note saw this number on the Giants and jumped on it right away.
they did.
And I just feel like in division game early on, the Giants with a lot to prove and a pretty good defense too. Let's not forget how good that Giants defense is, especially at getting after the quarterback. So, look, I love the Commanders. I love what they did last year. But I'm also old enough to remember 2 years ago when the Houston Texans were the darlings that came out of nowhere, right? And it's one thing to be the plucky underdog nobody sees coming. And it's another thing to be the team with expectations. The Commanders are the team with expectations now, and everybody's gunning for them and coming for them. And I think you saw last year, the Houston Texans kind of came out slow to the gate, right? They just struggled a little bit. All of a sudden, teams were prepared for them. They knew what to expect from CJ Stroud. Offensive line had some issues. And I think this Commanders offensive line has some issues. Cosme's not there. I know they traded for Tunsil, and that's a great move. But I think the Giants are going to cover this one. They could even win outright, potentially. But I think 6 is just way too many points for me. And then this was before the CMC news. The Seattle Seahawks at home with that defense as home underdogs week 1 with a live crowd. I got to be honest, like this one just felt weird to me. I think everybody, you want to talk about the survivor pick that I think might bite people in the ass this week? I think it's this one where everyone's like, oh, it's the 49ers. 49ers are great. Well, guess what? They were terrible against the run last year. Now, they have gotten some guys in there too, rookie-wise, that they think that is going to help them with that run defense that was so bad last year. One of the worst in the league. I think they ranked 18th or 19th last year. So now you got a situation where CMC's in question now, right? So we're adding into that mix. And then you have Brock Purdy going on the road in that situation against Seattle. To me, the Seattle Seahawks defense are going to take this personally, and I think they're going to show up. And to me, if there's one like money line straight up upset, I think it would be Seattle this week, and I think it would surprise a lot of people because what have we heard all offseason, Ariel? That the San Francisco 49ers have such an easy schedule. Well, if you don't take that schedule seriously, what happens? You end up dropping the ball early on, and you're not prepared. And I think all this CMC stuff is a weird distraction they just don't need after an offseason that's been kind of weird for them as well, losing some key players on defense too that nobody's talking enough about. I don't know if I'm sold on the 49ers quite yet.
What is it about the Seahawks that you like?
They can run the football.
Okay.
I think they're going to be able to do that. Now, the offensive line has some problems. Sam Darnold is far from perfect, okay? I'm not out here trying to say Sam Darnold's winning MVP. But what I will say about the Seattle Seahawks is defensively last year, they were kind of tough. And I think they're going to be tough today, excuse me, Sunday. And I do think they're going to show up in this game. And whenever you have those home underdogs, especially early on with the crowd is live, it's the beginning of football, I can see the 49ers just being a little distracted, coming out a little soft here. This is an in-division game. I think Seattle's going to be prepared for it. And what have we had? We've had a lot of time to prepare for your in-division opponent. That's also something that bodes well. And Seattle right now is a healthy football team. 49ers aren't. They don't have Brandon Ayuk, right? Jawan Jennings
Fair.
finally got his contract. He finally got paid. So there's been some weirdness there. You know, Ricky Pearsall's trying to ramp up. We don't know what CMC is going to be. Again, they keep coming back to the pieces they lost on defense year over year, some big veteran players. I think that's a problem personally.
It just always scares me week one when I see a quarterback in a new system with new receivers, new everything. I get worried to put money on it.
Yeah, I can understand that. And look, I think a lot of people keep putting their head in the sand with the Christian McCaffrey stuff, and I don't think he's going to be out for this game. But I think this is going to be a situation that could be something that just lingers all season or for the rest of his career where he's just not the same guy anymore. And if that's the case, that's a big change. Now, we saw Jordan Mason take the ball last year and be really good, and Brian Robinson, I
Brian
think, is a
Robinson,
better.
Isaac
Right.
Rendo.
But here's the thing I think that people didn't pay enough attention about. If they needed more running back depth, they could have signed a bunch of guys off the street, right? There's a lot of guys you could have signed. They gave up draft capital. They traded for a running back who's pretty solid too. So I think that there was a little bit more panic than anyone's letting on. And to me, that was a huge red flag about McCaffrey. So what? He didn't play in the preseason. So what? He didn't play a lot in practices and stuff like that. However, I think when that trade went down to me, that was a big flag of saying, oh, maybe this whole calf, ankle, Achilles issue, whatever the hell's going on with him, is more of a problem than we're letting on. And I don't know how anyone can trust the 49ers after what happened last year.
You like an under 38.5, low total, Jets, Pittsburgh. Obviously, people have their eyes on this game with the revenge spots for both teams. How come an under?
Well, I'm going to hate watch this game because
Yeah,
I
that's a
hate the
great
Jets.
idea. I think you should. And I think betting an under and hate watching is the perfect way to do it.
I think so too. I'm going to
Are you
hate
a
watch
Jets
this
fan?
game. Oh, God, no. Ew, gross.
What are you?
I am a pre-Dynasty Patriots fan going back to the early 90s. So I
I
lost
don't think
Super
I knew
Bowls
that.
before
I
I
don't
won
think I
them.
knew that.
So yeah, I go back to the Parcells Patriot days, into the Pete Carroll years, into the Belichick years, and then thank God back to the Vrabel years. But I'm gonna say this: this is the way adult women were hate watching the Summer I Turned Pretty this year. That's gonna
Sure.
be me watching this game, going, "Why am I watching this? Why am I doing this to myself? This is ridiculous." Can't stand Aaron Rodgers. Can't stand the Jets. Can't stand Arthur Smith. It's going to be boring. It's going to be low scoring. If they get to 13-6, it'll be a miracle in this game. The pace of play between these two teams that just want to run the
It's
football
got
and
to
now
look
Elijah Vera
sloppy.
Tucker's not there. Oh my God. It's going to be sloppy. It's going to be bad. Two quarterbacks and new offenses coming out of the gate for the first time with not a lot of time working. I mean, Aaron Rodgers came to camp late. What more can you ask for an under? I don't know. You could set this at 25 and I'd be like,
No, you could
let me
ask for
think
it
about
to
it.
be on Thursday night.
Oh, that would be the only thing even better. But instead, it's on Sunday, and there are other games I can pivot to eventually when I get tired of hate watching it.
I love a good hate watch on a Sunday, especially in week one. Everyone else is happy. And Joe, Pizza, is sitting there hate watching the Jets and the Steelers.
Yes.
Denver -8. We talked about this already with your under for Cam Ward and his passing yards. How come you're willing to lay the 8 as opposed to maybe putting this in like a 2-team teaser?
It's a good question. I'm just that confident of the Sean Payton smash. And that's the mode he goes in with bad teams. And they can struggle sometimes against good teams, the Broncos. We'll see if that gets better for them year over year. But Sean Payton has told us who he is, which is bad team come to town. Sean Payton smash with the Hulk hands. That's what he wants to do. Go back and look at last year's numbers. Go back and look at the scoreboard. He piles it on, and I think that defense is really good. Secondary is the best one in the league. It's just a lot. I mean, to have to make those reads as a young quarterback is tough enough, right? But to have to do it in your first start, I think is nearly impossible. I think there's going to be turnovers in this game. I think it's going to be a very comfortable win. And I don't think it's a situation where Cam Ward in garbage time, it's not going to be like, well, there's a Dak Prescott who's going to be slinging the ball all over the place at the end and get it close. I just don't see that being the mode. I think Tennessee goes in there, gets their ass kicked, comes back next week and say, okay, let's forget about that and move on with the rest of the season. And I think in the fourth quarter, you might not even see Cam Ward playing. I think you might just pull him off and be like, hey, look, this is a blowout. Let's just move on. We're on to week 2. I just think that much of an overmatch in this first week.
Before I let you go, let's play a little game of Would You Rather. Would you rather face the number 1 defense in football in your first game as a rookie quarterback or play at Mile High?
I'd rather play at Mile High and get that oxygen going. That's what I'm saying. The defenses are, look, that secondary was really good last year, and now they added another guy on top of that that's elite, and I just think that's just too much. And let me say it again, to be clear, I'm not hating on Cam Ward. I think it's a shame that Cam Ward didn't get enough attention in this draft.
I agree.
I think the fact they went 1 overall and everyone just kind of like, let's look at Ashton Genty. Let's look at
Shador.
Yeah, well, Cam Ward is serious. Cam Ward is a serious guy.
I like him a lot.
No matter how serious you're going to be, I think this is just outclassed, outmatched, outgunned. Pull out Hamilton out at you. I just think that's where we are with this one. But I do believe as the season goes on, you will see Cam Ward and that Titans team be more competitive, just not week 1.
I agree. I'm on the same page as you. I think the Titans have a better shot of going over their win total than a team like the Jets do. Joe Joe Pisapia from Betting Pros. Thanks so much for coming on. Let people know where they can find your work throughout the season.
Well, of course, over at Fantasy Pros on the YouTube, and of course, Betting Pros as well, and still on Sports Grid Sunday mornings. You can believe it, 5 years, still kicking around those streets. So appreciate you having me on, and look forward to the next time. Hopefully, I'm right about everything, even the hate watch of Pittsburgh and the Jets.
I would actually love to see like a video or a picture of you like hate watching the Jets and the Steelers on Sunday.
Perhaps. And you know what? I can't wait for the third quarter booze to turn from Aaron Rodgers focus to Justin Fields focused. I feel like that's coming too. And I'm here for it. I am here for it.
We love to be angry on a Sunday. Joe Pisapia, tell the girls I'd say hello. Enjoy your weekend and good luck with those bets. You guys know who's coming up next. He comes on every Monday and Friday. I think he's somewhere at the racetrack as always on a Friday. We're going to talk college football. We're going to talk Major League Baseball. I know you guys wanted majority football today, but Matt and I, we break down the baseball card anyway. So let's bring him on. It is time for Mid-Major Matt. Can you turn your phone the sideways way?
Sure, yeah. Anything for you.
Thank you. Thank you. So I told everybody that Matt's newsletter is out, $5. You could go pay for it at thepropqueen.com. It has more information than he's about to give out on it on freaking up for every game tomorrow. So definitely make sure to check out that betting analysis by Mid-Major Matt on the propqueen.com newsletter. $5. Just go and get it and you can get all the analysis you need. Matt, before we get to college football, let's talk a little bit of Major League Baseball. We've got a bunch of games on the slate tonight, and Mark is all hyped up about our rivalry because he's a Jays fan. I'm a Yanks fan. Before we get to those props, thoughts on Yanks Jays?
Well, I mean, the Yankees have great numbers against Gossman, so I'd expect the Yankees to do well tonight. Your guy Cam is on the mound too. I think he's going to be a really good pitcher, and I would lean to New York tonight. But who knows? Gossman did have that great start. A couple months ago against the Yankees, so maybe he's capable of it, but I lean your team tonight.
See, Joe comes on and gives me a Ravens SGP. Matt comes on and supports my Yankees. It's all good. We're thriving. Here's Matt's card for tonight. I can't believe you're going with Big Gav tonight. That's the first thing that stands out to me. My guy, Gavin Williams, you're fading him under 5.5 Ks. Why?
Yeah, because the Rays are in a good stretch now, making contact. And if you look at his road numbers, they're not as good as they are at home. It's Tampa Bay in this end of the summer, so I expect solid weather here. And as I say, the great thing about the spreadsheet is you notice when teams are making contact, and you notice when they're in great stretches. And right now, the Rays are in one of those. So I'm going to take the under. Now, it was, the juice was a little bit better, I'm assuming. There was also a 4.5 out there. So if you like the over, you could have gotten over 4.5. But I took advantage of the under 5.5 here at what I think is a reasonable juice.
Dean Kramer, he's home tonight against the Dodgers. You're going over 4.5 Ks, plus money, plus 110. I only would back Kramer at home. How come against a great Dodgers team is he going to have at least 5?
Well, I mean, it's a sprinkle bet for me because it's plus money, which means the market thinks he's going to get destroyed. And there's two scenarios here. The Dodgers destroy him in 2 or 3 innings and he leaves, or he gives us 6 innings of solid starting. And we know the Dodgers strike out a lot. So, like, I'm taking advantage of the plus price here. I'm going to put a sprinkle on his over and hope he goes 5 innings. And the Dodgers are in one of those efforts where they strike out a lot. So I probably wouldn't have played this at a minus price. And I don't know what the price is right now. But at a plus price, I figured, why not? Because as you said, he's better at home.
He is. And the Dodgers, it's crazy that they're striking out more than they did last year. They were one of the lowest K rate teams in the league last year. And this year, it's way up. 2 teams that struck out a lot last year, too. But this year, the Tigers struck out much more. The Tigers, White Sox, you've got Smith over 4.5 Ks. Heavy juice here, minus 145. I assume this is just because the Tigers strike out a lot.
Pretty much. And the White Sox, the last couple starts have shown that they're not on any innings limit with Shane Smith. Now, that could start tonight, and then I'm in trouble, and maybe he only goes 5. But we see that Detroit has a problem at times with strikeouts, and Smith has gone over this number twice already this season. And so I'm going to take a shot here. Plus, I'm pretty sure, and I don't have the spreadsheet in front of me, but I've got a really good record this year on Tigers strikeout props. So I'm going to keep trying to take advantage of it. I really wanted to play Flaherty's under because I really like playing unders with the White Sox. But, last time out, he came really close. I think he had 6 and it was 6.5 again. So, I do love White Sox unders, but I can't take advantage of it here.
You're 11-2 when betting Tigers. 11-2. That's crazy.
Look, sometimes we have really good. There was that stretch last year where I think you and I bet like 4 or 5 Royals K props in a row. I think they were all unders and we hit them. So, sometimes you get a really good feel on these teams and you take advantage of it.
So, anytime Matt gives you a prop that's against the Tigers, a strikeout prop against the Tigers, you follow because he's 11-2 over. He's 11 wins and 2 losses this year when doing that. Quinn Priester, 15.5 outs, minus 125. They're at home against Milwaukee. I'm shocked you're actually taking an over here because the Brew Crew hits pretty well on the road.
So the Priester's pretty good. He's on the road with the Brewers here. And
sorry, I forgot. He used to be a Pirate.
He was he went from the Pirates to the Brewers, I believe. So it's completely understandable.
I was all messed up.
But I think he's a solid pitcher. And look, if I can get a 5 innings essentially with the Pirates, I'm going to do so. Their lineup has been hot and cold. But like, if you're going to tell me that I get a really good pitcher that I feel like has gone over this a bunch on the road, he's not as good as home pitching it. So I'm going to take advantage of a 15.5 here at a very good juice.
Yeah, and his Brewers should give him some good run support. They are one of the best road hitting teams in baseball. Matt, you mentioned before these pitchers sometimes, like last night too with the Rays, we were talking about it here on the show with Pepio. These pitchers now are getting put on innings limits. How much is that factoring into your handicap, or maybe not yet?
Yeah, it's starting to get in there, and it's something you certainly look at, especially with the Rays. Like, I came very close to playing the over 15.5 on Pepio's outs because I figured, because they do this where they have it for like 1 or 2 starts, but then they go back to normal. So it could be the rest of the season. Pepio's only a 5-inning guy, which means we have to kind of assess, like, is he going to get 4.5, 5.5 strikeouts like, in 5 innings? But yeah, certainly when you look at these young pitchers, you have to start kind of wondering, will there be an innings limit? Shane Smith is a guy that I don't think there will be, but there certainly could be. The managers are not always going to tell us. That's also why we take a listen to the pre-game manager press conferences every once in a while, just because they give us little hints from time to time. But certainly you have to pay attention. And the guys who get called up from the minors, you certainly want to pay attention to the minor league innings as well, because those count as much as the major league innings do.
I know. Listen, it's getting to that point in the year where in Major League Baseball, we have to consider these kinds of things with the props. And I hate it because I don't want to think any further. I just like to bet the numbers. I can't always bet the numbers. There's also in football a lot going on. And in football, you can't just bet numbers. You've got to know strategy. You've got to know situational spots. That's exactly what Matt did in the newsletter today. He talked about all these really important situational spots that are coming up tomorrow. So, Matt, what's a couple of good situational spots to bet on or fade tomorrow for college football?
Well, I think Clemson is one of them right there. Clemson, coming off the really tough game against LSU last time out. They host Troy this weekend. They're way better than Troy, but they also have a trip down to Atlanta coming up next week as they start ACC play. So to me, if you're playing anything Clemson related, I'm looking at the first half. I think Dabo's going to have this team ready, and I think that any sort of reasonable number, whether it's their team total or whether it's their first half spread in general, I just think Clemson is going to score a lot. And heck, they may even take that into the second half. And then, look, if the number gets high enough with regards to the total, they might win this game something like 47-10. Troy might get a late touchdown with the backups in and stuff like that. So I would take a look at Clemson in the first half or potentially the over in that game because I think Clemson starters won't last all four quarters. And then you're looking at a couple of like SEC schools who are starting SEC play next week. You got Tennessee. They've got their SEC play. You've got Georgia's got SEC play next week. Some of them are playing FCS teams. It's very important, and we've talked about it before. It's very important to notice how the coaches handle these FCS weeks. Some of them just go, they're out for blood, and they want to win by 1,000,000. Some of them are like, well, we just got to get our starters some work. We'll put the backups in, and there's some backdoor covers. I believe Georgia last year was a 52-point favorite against Tennessee Tech and did not cover the number because Tennessee Tech got a late touchdown. So that's something you kind of want to look at as we see these FBS, FCS games. What's the history for these respective coaches as to how they handle these games and how much they care about the point spread?
How should we go about Bill Belichick in week 2?
So Bill Belichick's fascinating because it's a Monday, Saturday turnaround. Now, Bill has had the Sunday, Thursday turnarounds, but that's with pro teams. How are kids going to handle a Monday, Saturday turnaround? Now, granted, it is a road trip, but it's a short road trip. I don't know. Chapel Hill to Charlotte is probably like an hour, if that. I don't know how far it is. So they should. Okay, an hour and a half. Charlotte's gonna be really excited to get UNC in their building.
It's longer. It's like 2.5 hours. 2.5 hours. Sorry, I'm gonna.
Okay, 2.5 hours. So it's a decent trip here. But like UNC's way better than Charlotte. If UNC loses this week or looks poorly, then we can look at the rest of the season and wonder what's going to happen. But I'm just going to be very interested to see how he handles practice this week with a Monday to Saturday turnaround. By the way, next week, Chapel Hill is taking on the Richmond Spiders as their FCS team. So we're kind of excited about that our Spiders are playing Bill Belichick.
Are you going to go?
Probably not. Unfortunately, probably not. I do a lot of studio work for the Spiders, so I don't get to leave as much. But it'll certainly be an interesting game, to say the least, because I think Bill will be the type of guy who kind of tries to run the score up, certainly if he can, especially if his team doesn't look good the first 2 weeks.
100% he won't care. See, I got in trouble when I was at camp and I was counselor. I ran the score up because my team sucked all year. We finally, at the last game of the season, we're winning. And I was like, just keep going. And the coaches on the other side said, that's not nice. Pull your starters so that you don't kill us. It's not nice to do the other girls. I looked at her and I go, we've been losing all year. I don't care. Run it up. And then I got in trouble. Whatever. Everyone's got to get thicker skin these days.
Gotta be ruthless sometimes. I appreciate that. Now, I don't know what you're teaching the kids, but who cares? It's all about winning.
Their parents could teach them. Everyone's still saying Belichick's a bad coach without Brady. Still the narrative. Boring narrative. NFL, it's starting on, big first slate of games on Sunday. We've got action tonight in the NFL with the Chiefs and the Chargers. Any NFL action you want to give out?
So I think I agree with your previous guest. I like the Giants +6. I think the Giants, the more and more I convince myself, so I'm doing Survivor this year. The person that I'm doing it with, we bought 5 entries. And so one of our entries had the Eagles. Thank God they won last night. This would have been a much different appearance if my team had lost last night. But we use the Commanders, of course, in a couple of them. But I'm starting to convince myself the Giants might make this a game and may even win, because there's always one upset in week 1. And I don't think it's going to be Denver. Sean Payton won't let that happen. I don't think a rookie is going to Denver and winning, but I think the Giants defense is going to keep them in this game. And I think especially if Malik Neighbors plays, I know he has the back injury. It showed up on the injury report, but I think this game is going to be a lower scoring game. And in a lower scoring game, I think with that defense that the Giants have, I think they can force a turnover potentially and win this thing. So I like the Giants +6. And maybe you could talk me off of this, but I kind of like the Browns this week plus the points. I think everybody just assumes the Browns are going to be pretty bad. But I think their defense, much like the Giants, is going to keep them in this game. And the Cincinnati Bengals don't play any defense. So I think Joe Flacco can find some success this weekend. So I like the home dog in Cleveland this weekend.
I can't talk you off because the Bengals always start off slow and horribly. However, my only non-football take on it, more of an asshole take, is everybody's told me or asked me, hey, who's a good survivor pick? Not the Bengals, because the Bengals screwed me over last year. So I keep thinking how funny it is that the Bengals will end up winning this game because everyone does not want to bet them after last year against the Pats.
By the way, I think, and I don't know about you, my sleeper, and we use this for one of our survivors, I think New England wins this week. The love for the Raiders, just because Pete Carroll's there, the Raiders defense is bad. And the Raiders offense, I don't think it's that good. And remember, the Patriots spent a ton of money on their defense. And I think Drake May to some of his wide receivers is going to be really good. And Trevion Henderson and Ramondre Stevenson, not a bad running back duo. I kind of like the Patriots as my sneaky, if you want to try and steal a week type of thing situation. I played the Patriots in one of my survivor weeks.
Props, which direction you look in, market, if you don't have any, you don't have to, but where are you going to target?
So I think this week I'm going to look more at the touchdowns market and the team totals market, because I think, we all kind of have some ideas of how the players are going to do, but we have a better idea of how the offenses are going to look. I think in certain games, the offenses are going to look great. I think Baltimore and Buffalo are going to score a lot of touchdowns. I think that's potentially a higher scoring game. As I said, the Commanders and the Giants could be a lower scoring game. Maybe I'm on the Washington touchdowns under or their team total under. So I think I will be playing player props, but I think we have better ideas about units instead of individual players. So a lot of my plays this week will be team totals and touchdowns related as opposed to individuals, when I'll start jumping on that in week 2.
Go check out Mid-Major Matt on X, and he's going to have everything posted. He always does. Matt, thank you as always for coming in on this Friday. I hope you enjoy the weekend. Good luck with your bets this weekend. We will see you on Monday.
Sounds good. Thanks for having me.
Matt's the best. Again, make sure to go check him out at theprepqueen.com, his newsletter. It's pretty much Wednesdays, Thursdays, Fridays to break down everything you need to know in college football for the week ahead. You guys know I got the splash contest going too with Kelly in Vegas, and I have 3 entries in our touchdown contest. So let's share the screen. Here are my 3 entries. I'm kind of pumped. So the first one that I did, I took Tom Vecchio's because I trust my guests, and I'm going to go with Tom Vecchio's McBride anytime touchdown. And then my backup there is Jamar Chase. But then I went with Jamar Chase for entry number 2, and Tank Bigsby is the second option there. I just am looking at teams when I'm choosing running backs, looking at horrendous teams against the run. And McBride also gets a good matchup because of being terrible against tight ends. Jamar Chase also gets a great matchup for a defense that struggles against wide receivers. And then T. Higgins, I'll just take as a second option. But, I think Mike Evans was hold on. I don't think it matters, actually. I think you have to choose 2 anyway. Yeah, Mike Evans was my first choice for that one. You have to choose 2, and then you choose an alternate. So these are the 2 I chose, and I think just one has to hit. So Mike Evans, though, is my top 3. McBride, Chase, and Evans are my top 3 for scoring a touchdown this week. Sean said he took Jacobs, Bijan, and Montgomery. I like that. I was trying not to use too many running backs, so I was trying to change it up with tight ends, wide receivers, and running backs. What do I want to go to next? I guess I'll do pitcher props. Pitcher props. Tyler Glass now to go under 17.5 outs. Hold on one second. Where is... Okay. I keep getting texts. Everyone always texts me during the show. Tyler Glass now under 17.5 outs. He's gone under this in all 5 road games, and they're in Baltimore. He's gone under this in all 5 road games, averaging just over 11 outs per start. Glasnow owns a 5.68 ERA on the road this year, 2.54 at home. So 2.54 at home. Big drop off. 3 of the last 4 righty starters went under their outs prop against Baltimore. Starters averaged between 16 and 17 outs against the Orioles this year. So go with the under 17.5 outs for Tyler Glasnow. Atlanta's lefty Chris Sale over 7.5 Ks. He went over this in 6 of 8 starts against teams with high K rates against lefties. Southpaw starters, 24 overs and 15 unders, averaging just under 6 strikeouts a game against Seattle. Philly starters like Suarez, Sanchez, Luzardo all had at least 10 Ks. Chris Sale's better than all 3. So go with the over 7.5 Ks for Chris Sale tonight, facing the Seattle Mariners in Atlanta. He's at home. Or else I don't like to bet overs on high numbers unless they're the home pitcher. Arizona's lefty Eduardo Rodriguez also at home tonight against the Red Sox. Take his over 4.5 Ks. Erod's gone over this in 7 of 10 against teams with high K rates against lefties. And those left-handers are averaging just over 5 strikeouts per start against Boston. 8 of the last 13 lefties since the All-Star break to face them have gone over. So over 4.5 Ks. Oh, they switched it out with Ohtani. Okay, forget Glasnow. They switched it out with Ohtani. My bad. So no more Glasnow tonight. It was Glasnow. Clearly it was because there was a prop on it. Duh. Well, that's gone. So no Glasnow. 2 strikeout props then. Here's the big list of NFL props. I'm going to have more on Sunday. I'm hosting Last Call on Wager Talk Sunday, but I'm going to be giving out my long list on thepropqueen.com in the newsletter. It's going to be like the extra long list. I'll tell you my best bets, of course, on Sunday on social media. But, and maybe if I'm feeling really ambitious on Sunday, I'll make a Prop Queen Edges to post to YouTube. So maybe I could do that too. If again, I'm feeling extra ambitious on Sunday morning and not short on time. I'm going to try to write the newsletter tomorrow. So we'll see how that goes. Probably, I don't know. I never time things well. Anyway, yesterday I mentioned this one with Will Dissly to go over 15.5 receiving yards. The Chargers tight end tonight, I mean, this number is way too low. Dissly's cashed this over in all 3 games against Kansas City, dating back to 2022. He's averaging just under 21 receiving yards in those spots. And last year, Dissly averaged 31 receiving yards a game. The Chiefs were the worst defense in the NFL against tight ends last year, which is why 67% of tight ends went over their props. So Will Dissly over 15.5 yards. This is like Jahan Dotson. The number is way too low for the matchup. Jaguars running back Travis Etienne over 40.5 rushing yards. I'm a little nervous about this because of Tank Bigsby. However, Etienne went over this in 5 of 6 home games last year, averaging 45.5 rushing yards. Last year, Carolina allowed the most rushing yards per game to running backs at just under like 150 yards a game. 69% of running backs went over their rushing yards prop last year against the Panthers. Travis Etienne still RB1, over 40.5 rushing yards for him. Run the clock out and just dictate pace of play and don't lose that game as 3.5-point favorites at home against Carolina. Atlanta's tight end Kyle Pitts, if you really want to hate yourself, you could take his over 38.5 receiving yards. Falcons hosting the Bucks. Kyle Pitts for me, oh God, he is just like, sometimes you get Kyle Pitts overs and you're like, wow, I'm a genius. Then the other times, everyone's like, you're an idiot. You just don't know. Like the second half of the year last year, he absolutely sucked. So Kyle Pitts over 38.5 receiving yards. Well, last year, he went over in all 6 games that he played against the Bucks. Sorry. Since 2021, he's gone over in all 6 games that he's played against the Bucks, including both last year. The Bucks allowed the second most receiving yards per game to tight ends at 67 yards a game. Just because of the matchup and because of the history, and I feel like no one's really talking about it, Kyle Pitts going over in 6 straight, everyone in his career against Tampa, basically. We just got to ride the trend. Over 38.5 for Kyle Pitts. You guys know, Ravens, Bills, I'm going to be hating my life. So Justice Hill, the Ravens running back, over 14.5 receiving yards. He had 78 in the regular season matchup with the Bills last year. Then they went away from him in the playoffs. He averaged Hill just under 27 receiving yards a game on the road last season, going over in 5 of 9. 60% of running backs that faced the Bills went over their receiving yard prop last year because the Bills allowed the most receiving yards per game to running backs. So we're just going to ride that again over Justice Hill receiving yards. And Josh Allen's going to throw the football tomorrow because if you don't try to test the Ravens secondary, you are stupid. Josh Allen over 30.5 pass attempts. It's a number he's gone over in 5 of the last 6 seasons, week 1. Hold on. I know we're in week 1. I'm always just like, I see on the newsletter that I didn't write that. Josh Allen, also, the Ravens allowed the 3rd most pass attempts per game last year. The line also flipped from the Bills -1.5 to +1.5. So if they do, in fact, play from behind, then there's a good chance that Josh Allen's going to have to throw the football a lot. So go with the over 30.5 pass attempts for Josh Allen playing from behind against a team like the Ravens, who he could get some pretty deep balls against the Ravens secondary. I know that Ravens secondary played much better the second half of last year, but like just every year, this secondary starts out slow. So those are my NFL props to look ahead to for the weekend. We can see, like the fishy line is the Giants. Like, let me just double check that. But I don't think anything else really changed except for the Giants. Like, I think it's been that way. I'm going to look, though. We'll do a live. It is fishy lines. Okay, so I don't have a graphic for it, but we're just going to go. The Commanders are getting 63%. What did my dog just do? The Commanders are getting 63% of bets and 54% of handle, -6. The Giants, 37% of bets, 46% of handle, and that line went from 7 to 5.5. So that kind of was the fishy line. And I'll see on Sunday if there's any other fishy lines, or I'll just see right now if anything else moved weird. Before we get to the weekend. Where is my... Do I not have FanDuel pulled up? Gotta pull up FanDuel. And then I gotta get to Rolex because then I gotta get out of here to the concert. My mommy's taking me to dinner. Hi, Mom. She's driving. So the Giants there was some buyback on Washington because that line was 7 down to 5.5. Now back to Washington at -6.5. So beware of that one. Didn't see much other movement. Not yet, at least. Cincinnati still 5.5. Indianapolis still -1.5. Tampa still -1.5. Denver moved from 7.5 to 8.5. Let's see. The Niners moved from -2.5 to -1.5. And right now on DraftKings, ooh, that'll be fishy if the Niners. Yeah, Niners are a fishy line. Niners are getting 73% of handle, 65% of bets. And Joe Pisapia could be onto something. That number just moved -2.5 to -1.5 this week on San Francisco. So definitely could be looking at the Seattle Seahawks this weekend as a fishy line. I'll update you guys more on fishy lines this coming weekend when I do Last Call on Wager Talk. Until then, we've got to get to my best bets of the day. We're going to Royal Live. Royal Locks, a pitcher prop, and an NFL prop, all for tonight. Royal Locks for Sunday. This does not include Sunday. This is Royal Locks for tonight, starting with the Chargers tight end, Will Dissly, to go over 15.5 receiving yards. This is a great matchup for Dissly, who's getting a Chiefs team that was the worst in the league against tight ends last year, allowing the most receiving yards per game. 67% of tight ends to face the Chiefs went over the receiving yard prop. Dissly last year cashed this in in his career, he's cashed this in all 3 games against the Chiefs, dating back to 2022. He's averaging just under 21 receiving yards a game in those spots and 31 receiving yards a game last year. So we're going over 15.5 receiving yards for Will Dissly tonight. And then for Arizona's lefty Eduardo Rodriguez, over 4.5 Ks. He's hit this in 7 of 10 against teams with high K rates against lefties. And those left-handers are averaging just about 5.5 strikeouts to start against Boston. 8 of the last 13 lefties to face the Red Sox since the All-Star break went over against them. So we're going over on Will Dissly and over on Eduardo Rodriguez tonight, Friday night. Let's get lit. The concert I'm going to tonight is Benson Boone at Madison Square Garden. So it should be fun. And my shirt is Blondie because Benson Boone's kind of cool like that. So I'm going to dinner with my mom, my aunt, and my mom's friend. And then we're going to the concert. And this was all. And yes, I'm abandoning Marley tonight, but this is actually for the long term. So when I go to Aruba, Sean, when I go to Aruba, I'm going for 2 weeks. And instead of having to pay for a kennel for 2 weeks, which would cost so much money, my aunt is being so nice and watching Marley at my parents' house, like, because my parents are reading in Aruba with me too. So my aunt was like, of course I'll go and watch Marley at mom and dad so that she doesn't have to be in a kennel. So she'll get to stay in the backyard and in my parents' house. So she gets all that land. And Marley will get to stay with my aunt so she doesn't have to be in a kennel. And I don't have to pay for a kennel. So I surprised my aunt and I bought her a ticket to Benson Boone, who she loves, to say thank you. So that was my thank you to my aunt, because technically tickets to Benson Boone was still half the price of a kennel for 2 weeks. So thank you to Aunt Hope. She's the best. So I'm meeting up with her tonight and my mom's friends. And we are going to have a great time at Benson Boone. And I will be watching the Chiefs Chargers on my phone the entire concert. I have to go walk Marley now. And then she's going to be pissed. But she went to camp today. So she's exhausted. Hence why you didn't see her. Oh my God. Okay. We could go through this. You'd have to remind me though, Craig, at the next show. We could talk about this on a slow day next week. But I could tell you, no, it's a long list. They all pretty much have casinos, like literally all of them. But the best casinos in Aruba are the Hyatt, the Marriott, and the Alhambra is not a casino, but it's not a hotel, but it's a casino. But those are my 3. And the Hyatt and the Marriott are the 2 that have the better casinos, not the Ritz. The Ritz casino sucks. It has a casino, but it sucks. The Marriott has a great one, and the Hyatt have a great one. They all have casinos in it, but those are the 2 that are the best ones. Aruba makes me happy. Thank you everyone for tuning in today. The numbers have been awesome. Please subscribe, like everything that you can on the YouTube. And remember, the giveaway is still active on props.cash. Take advantage while you can, because it's going to end on September 23rd. Let me see where it is. Here. So don't forget the giveaway. Join props.cash using promo code PropQueen, 50% off the first month of football season, and a chance at a free jersey. So it's like $9 to sign up for props.cash and get to use it for all these different props in the NFL. It helps to make the board a little bit smaller. And if you guys are a little confused on how to use it, let me know, and I can do a tutorial on how to use props.cash next week on like a Tuesday or maybe Monday for prime time. We could use it. So let me know, because it is awesome using props.cash, and they changed a lot and they added more ways to win. So you get the giveaway for the free jersey, a chance at it, but also you get 50% off the first month of football season using promo code PropQueen at props.cash. Have a great weekend. Good luck with those bets. I will see you Monday, 5 p.m. Eastern time on the Prop Queen Pod.